Hi, this is Tom Shay of Profits Plus, and welcome to beautiful Mount Nebo, Arkansas. This is the area where I grew up. During all the presentations that I give, I always share a picture of somewhere from my family past. But somehow or another, of all the pictures that we found in the family, I've never found any from these what I call the Dardanelle years. But recently I discovered this book. The book is entitled The Way It Was by S. Jackson Boyce. And in his book, Mr. Boyce says that this book is whose readership will likely be confined to my children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and a few relatives and friends, is an effort to portray life as it was for this writer. Well, the connection to S. Jackson Boyce, or Jack Boyce as we knew him, is that his sister was the owner of the store that my family bought. So as I'm able to go back and read the story of Jack Boyce in the earlier years, I can find the history of the first store that my father owned going back to the 1800s. And so during this video, we're going to go down off the mountaintop. And we're going to look around and we're going to see places. So come, go with me, and let me show you my Dardanelle. In his book, Jack Boyce talks about the Boyce Brothers store that was started approximately 1880 here on Front Street in Dardanelle. He further details that about 1910, the store dissolved, or Boyce Brothers as a company dissolved. He said that his great-uncle Millard took his share of what they owned and a piece of land far down in the southern part of the state. Well, that left Uncle Tom, as he referred to this great uncle, as being the owner of the business, and that Jack's father, Jesse Jackson Boyce, bought the remaining half interest. Then about 1916, Tom died, and Jesse Jackson Boyce bought the entire ownership. Now what occurred at that point is Jesse Jackson Boyce is 100% owner of the store. In the next decade or so, there were challenges is that there were a couple of fires. About 1924 and 1927, there were fires that destroyed parts of Dardanelle, including the store. He says that the store had been located in the Harmon building, something in which at this point in all my research I'm unable to locate which is the Harmon building. But after 1927, the business finally came to land in the Kaufman building, which, as they said at that point in time, was empty and available. The Kaufman building occupied this space that's behind me. In his book, he talks about the north end of the building having a very strong fireproof type of brick wall, and that there was an alleyway to the south. The alleyway that's still there today, and this place next to it, that was, in my time, that was Bill Berry's drugstore, and then right alongside us was a little small IGA grocery store, and then the bank that has been here for all the years. That was the decade of the 60s, and with my father closing the store in the 1970s, fairly well brings the end of the chapter, the story of Boyce Brothers and the Gleasons as it came through. Now, to tie all the families together, Jesse Jackson Boyce, who had the business, had 3 children. One which was Jack, the person we've been talking about from the book, and one of his other children was a daughter by the name of Mildred. And the story is told that every year at Christmas that Mr. Boyce gave his children Christmas gifts, with the exception of Mildred. And Mildred always asked her father for instead that she wanted stock. She wanted a piece of ownership of the building. And when he decided to retire in 1950, Mr. Boyce told his family that he was ready to sell the store, as the story goes. But Mildred comes up and surprises her father and says, what's going to happen is that you're going to sell the store to me, because over the years that you have given me stock, I now have controlling interest in the store, so you are the minority owner, your daughter is now the majority owner, and you'll sell it to me and her husband, whose name was George Granville Gleason, who was a farmer and a rancher from here in the Dardanelle area. That's how the store came. They ran it from 1950, when Mr. Boyce retired, to 1961. They decided they did not want to be in retailing, and they let it be known through the vendors who called on the store. One in particular, a gentleman by the name of O.C. North, who worked for the Big Smith Company out of Carthage, Missouri. Mr. North, working for Big Smith, told my father, who was working in Fort Smith, Arkansas, about 60 miles to the west of here, who at that time was working for one of my great uncles in his retail operation, about it being available, and Mr. Gleason would make him a great deal. So in 1961, my father came here and purchased a store. In the next 9 years, he also purchased a store from a Williams family in the town of Danville, which is 20 miles just kind of south of here. And then again back to the east from here, another 40 miles, he bought a store from the Frank brothers in the town of Marlton. So at that point he had 3 stores, and I can remember that he was looking at the concept that he wanted to take and look up and down the Arkansas River at all the stores that people had, and that he was going to create his own small chain up and down the Arkansas River in what became Shay's department stores. The downside was at that point I wasn't old enough, I was only in high school, and my dad had an only sibling, a brother, who was working in the jet engine manufacturing business, and decided no, he did not want to come to Arkansas. So the plans all fell apart, and that was the end of what was going to be the Shay's stores up and down through this part of Arkansas. Well, now the question that you're going to have at this point is, so what happened? What was it that occurred in 1970, or actually just before that, as to why Shay's disappeared? That's the story I'm going to tell you.